it's weird. I'm definitely looking forward to going through this again after stream and seeing what lies between the lines. Because there's a couple things that are... you know how there's kind of things that she's maybe not saying in this article? Things that we would expect to hear or anything like that. Because, I mean, the first thing that requires... I mean, maybe it was a slip of the tongue, but Keller saying Activision, like management. I mean, that's maybe a little bit conspiratorial, but there's almost certainly stuff in here that you'll get on a third or fourth read, maybe. Especially if we compare it to some other stuff, I think. But it's just the idea of them having 13 teams, like 13 incubation teams, and nothing to show for it. So what are they what are they doing? Like,
yeah, it's that thing where it's like in a world where Respawn can just be like, yeah, Jedi Fallen Order, cool, crank it out in 2 years. How long was
I
that
can't remember. I can't remember, but it's like, here you go. And it was based off a hunch, a good creative hunch, existing game mechanics. It didn't redesign anything massively.
Oh wait, am I bullshit? No, Fallen Order's been in the works. No, wait, Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Never mind. No, it has been in the works for 5 years. Why did I think that was like 3 years?
I don't know. I think it was just because it was so secretive.
Maybe it was just that it's full production. I believe what it was, if memory serves, is that it had really good pre-production, and then when it went into production, it was like a super steady situation. If memory serves. It may not be serving, though.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it felt like a really, really good baseline for development to go further. So I can imagine that like Fallen Order 2 will be fantastic. But I guess it's the idea of just them going, right, we've got this idea, we've got this core idea, we have access to an IP. Like, you can imagine the kind of stuff where it's just like coming up with Jedi Fallen Order. Who wouldn't hear Star Wars kind of Dark Soulsy and go, all right, there you go. There's your like number one seller for month on end.
Okay, so the situation with Fallen Order is basically they got a lot of time initially to build their team and to do the early shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's probably a situation like the Blizzard thing done and going to success, where it's like very small core team, build up their concept great, build their team, get their tools, then whenever it's full production time, bam, that goes really good.
One of the things
versus
what
was I going to say?
You said versus
well,
something.
I would say Diablo 4. That has had so there was the Diablo 4 that was led by Josh from the Reaper of Souls team, who I believe spearheaded Loot 2.0. Then so he did a version, or was involved in a version of that, and then that got axed.
Yeah.
Then it was over to another one. Was that one Fenris?
Is
Fenris the current Diablo 4?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I can't remember which is which.
But I think it's that thing where D4 has had reboots.
Yeah.
I think it's had it's definitely had one, may have had 2 internal reboots.
Yeah, so it's like this is my...
Which, I mean, can happen, of course.
So this is my gut feeling. I mean, this is like, there's going to be, I guess, 3 things that I'm going to suggest maybe to blame for all of this incubation not having anything. I think it's because they're too busy being Blizzard, which means they're focused on perfection. They won't ship anything that's not perfect. Because I think that's
why they ship Shadowlands.
Used to be the way, But they can't avoid it with Shadowlands. They couldn't delay that, or else they'd have no money left. But I feel like they were running into that problem where they couldn't just go, you know what, that'll do all right. Green light, off we go. I also think that the email chain that was alluded to, of the idea of there needing to be 5 departments, 10 people involved in a decision, that's going to cripple any creativity. Even if you can prototype a little bit, even if you can prototype your game and have a good concept, but then it takes a couple months for the emails to go up and down to go, yeah, here's your 200, here's your what was the 200 grand? That would fucking buy you nothing. Here's 2 staff for you. Here's your 10 mil, go sort it. Then, but by that time it's, everyone's gone or whatever else. But they also this is one that I think is particularly important when it comes to Fallen Order. Blizzard have, outside of Hearthstone, have used their own engine for everything. And that's been an incredible decision because their games are like better feeling than any other games, largely.
Yeah.
There's
Blizzard games feel great.
Yeah, it's taken Path of Exile, I don't know how many years in development to feel anywhere close to Diablo 3 in terms of, and even like it is great now, but it's not like, it's still not quite there. But I feel like they probably had too much of a focus on that versus maybe they went the Hearthstone approach and had Unity and Unreal spun up for stuff, but the idea that Respawn just jammed open Unreal, there you go, there's Fallen Order, done. I mean, obviously it took time to make the game, but they didn't have all of those sort of earlier problems. So I feel like as a whole, maybe they need to send a bunch of spies into EA to start watching Respawn like EA have been doing and going, right, here's how to actually start a project and then greenlight it and then finish it.
It's like there's so many internal things that are like odd issues. And this is something that happened under Morheim's management team, not Jab's. So we, blame has to go wherever it goes, that management team. But imagine if, was it 2014 Reaper of Souls?
I think so.
Well, imagine if Diablo had 2016 expansion 2.
Yep.
While a smaller team was working in D4.
Yeah.
Imagine if that stuff was going better. Imagine if they were maybe just able to have a bit more focus, get Overwatch 2 out the gate. Imagine, it was really weird with Overwatch 2 because it looked to me to be tiny. It looked to me to be like Overwatch 1.5 whenever it was announced at that BlizzCon, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Still is. And then I was shocked, like, just how long it seems like that game was going to take. And you just have to wonder, where do those resources go internally? What was going on? It's sort of that thing where I think a lot of, this brain drain is such a large problem for them.
Yeah.
And like it obviously is. There's, there'll be things to talk about, I think, in, maybe another half a year when we see more, more people leave, more things spin up. I think there's more coming. And I think when that happens, it's going to start to become like just clearer and clearer and clearer that each time one of these people goes, all of their knowledge goes. And sure, they'll have trained people up, but it's really hard when somebody's yanked out of a team.
Yeah, it is literally the case of Blizzard, because of all of this brain drain, their games will likely be worse.
Yeah, because staff who makes the games, you lose a bunch of your top staff, your games are obviously going to suffer.
Yeah, and if you're hiring people who will work for you, which at this point I imagine is a bunch of like graduates and lower experienced people, then no harm to them, like as creatives or personally, but developing skills takes time.
Yeah,
you cannot really buy time. I mean, you can if you hire experienced people, but experienced people aren't going to read this article and go, fucking right, let's go to Blizzard, boys. They're going to go, Mike, got a job for me?
Yeah.
That's it.
It's
like, I want to go back to what you were saying about Reaper of Souls expansion 2 or Diablo expansion 2. And this is a thing that I think I've been talking to you about this a little bit recently, but I have this there's a couple of different things about game development and how it's progressed over the years that I want to commit to paper and have a big fucking think about. But one of the ones that I think is very, very, Final Fantasy does this, it almost embodies this to perfection. No Man's Sky embodies it to perfection. Rogue Legacy 2 is doing a great job, but when World of Warcraft is almost the opposite, and Blizzard's approach seems to largely be the opposite, and it is giving things time and sticking with the same thing. Because obviously World of Warcraft's initial success was, how long from World of Warcraft's launch till its peak? Subscribers? 7 years? 2003, 2010, right?
Yeah.
7 years. What other game has been constantly added to and developed for 7 years? Everything seems to be, the cold Call of Duty model that is, it has success, but it's tenuous at best. Or it seems to be internally very tenuous and expensive. That game could probably be significantly more profitable if they, instead of going, well, you make a game and you make a game and you make a game and you make a game, do your different engines, do your different everything else. It just feels like they don't stick to things. They don't go, right, well, here's our thing. Oh, it's kind of bad. We'll make it better. Make the thing better. Instead, they're like, shit, fuck bin, start again. And you're like, well, you've got a full bin and nothing to show.
Yeah, I guess that's... Sometimes perfectionism is good,
Yeah.
Oh, it says to go full screen. That actually would make sense.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Whoops.
sometimes perfectionism is good,
Mhm.
but, you know, perfectionism is one way to get something better and better and better. Rapid iteration is generally a lot faster.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where iterating within the game, I think, because it's not about perfection. It's not about like perfecting the thing over and over again. It's just about building on top of it, building more, adding more to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that goes wrong. It's not, it's the kind of iterating in the same thing instead of throw the whole thing out, because there's so many babies launched out with the bathwater. Like,
no.
There's just
not a nice image.
Yeah, there's just a stack of babies beside the drain in Blizzard Entertainment.
It's fucking gnarly.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay. It's just I imagine there are loads of ideas that are wasted because they're not given the right time or the right energy.
Yeah.
And in that case, it's like, how many 8 out of 10 ideas are thrown out because it's not a 9 out of 10? And that's where I think perfectionism starting from the ground up is a problem. Yeah. Perfectionism that comes from rapid iteration and within the same kind of ground. Because obviously, if you're doing a small product, you can keep throwing stuff away with no loss. But when it costs you 5 years to make a game, like, you can't just do nothing and then go, oh, well, now we've got 5 years from the starting point. You have to start and then get something. It's really awkward.
I think it depends on the type of game that's being made. I think there are games that can do that and then do their growth as they're a live game. Yeah. Warframe is an incredible example of that.
Oh, yeah.
But I think there are some things that are just really big games that it just takes a lot to get them done.
Yeah.
It's hard to know. I think just, taking Titan and not making those mistakes again is probably the play.
Yeah, but that seems to be exactly what... Like, it's almost like a fear of Titan or the success of Overwatch is what they're chasing again.
Yeah, that's what we've heard it a few times that Titan does loom large over Blizz.